Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the podcast series, What's Your Story by Sashakt Entrepreneurship Committee from the Department of Management Studies, IIT Delhi. Today, we have with us Mr. Akash Gupta, sir, co-founder and CEO of ZYPP ELECTRIC, which provides electric vehicles for last mile delivery to companies looking for more eco-friendly delivery fleet solutions. He is a computer science graduate from the University of Rajasthan and an MBA from IMT Ghaziabad in information systems and marketing. He has over 10 years of corporate experience with top organizations such as Dell, Airtel, Snapdeal, and MobiKwik in the areas of sales, operations, distribution strategy, and marketing across positions ranging from senior manager to vice president. We are delighted to have you with us, sir. With this, we start our podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, and I'm excited to join this podcast with you guys. Thank you.
Here's my first question, sir. So, we want to know more about what was your first business venture and how did you get the idea? Who were your teammates and how did you fund your venture?
Sure. So, see, ZYPP ELECTRIC ideally is my first official venture. But prior to this, I would say that I have worked on multiple startup ideas, right? I have worked in 2-3 startups myself, right? Which is obviously Snapdeal and MobiKwik. And within Airtel also, I launched a startup called 4G for Airtel, right? Which I launched in 8 cities in the country. And before ZYPP, my co-founder launched one startup called Let's Flaunt, where I was a supportive actor in terms of setting it up, in terms of helping her do the marketing and the basic, business setup, right? So yeah, I've watched that journey for 5 years as she built that startup, to a decent scale. And not just that, I would say that multiple ideas, right, from doing things in the shoe space, or doing things in the education space, right, or doing things in fintech space. There are a bunch of ideas that I kind of work towards. Built business decks, did a lot of research, primary as well as secondary, to reach to the market sizing. But then I was not convinced of all those ideas that they can really, they were not very exciting to me. Right, they were good, interesting, but when I did a lot of research, I realized that nahi, maza nahi aa, right? But when the thought of ZYPP ELECTRIC came in my head, and this was in 2017, which is to solve the entire problem of mobility with sustainability, electric vehicles, right? Then I think it was like I would say a eureka moment, right? A moment where I was like, wow, I have now got something that excites me, that just, makes me sleepless, right? And obviously when you start seeing your dreams in the day, and your dreams also kind of look like everything is reality, that's the state which I was in when the idea of the sustainable mobility came in my head. And since then, there was kind of no looking back, right? And then I said that I'm leaving my job. It was a very good job. Having a VP designation, having good ESOPs, good, CTCs was not an easy one to leave.
So tell us about your journey of starting ZAP, and how did you fund this venture?
Yeah. So we funded this venture initially with my own personal capital, right? So I had about 25-30 lakhs of saving. I invested that. Obviously, I left my salaries, for almost a year or two, which is also obviously an investment, right? And yeah, see, for a founder, it is leaving everything, right, and getting ready to fail in something which nobody in the market knows, right? And that's the true founder spirit, right? And money is something that can always come along, but time and credibility and the respect that you carry in the industry, it is something that is tough to win if you lose it, right? And that was the readiness in my head. I would say that was the biggest investment, right, that I made, along with the capital that I invested to launch this company.
Going forward, we saw that ZYPP ELECTRIC has received several fundings from different top multinational companies. So my question to you is, first thing is how entrepreneurs themselves evaluate their idea before starting, and the second thing is how these VCs, angels, or for that matter any companies look in a startup before investing.
Sure. So see, I think for VCs and angels and everyone, what matters when you are an early stage startup is the biggest thing is the team, right? Who's building this? And a lot of even till whatever time you're running the venture, one of the biggest things is that who's running this, right? Who's the founder? Who are the founders, right? So that's the first thing. So founders and then the largest team, right? These are the two things that matter, right? When you start building, and that is the initial 2-3 years, that is what matters, right? And VCs look at a great team who has solved problems in the past, who can solve this new problem also, who have a good credibility, who are well connected in the industry, right? These are the basics that the VCs look for. And once you achieve these basics, then the other thing which is important is that how well do you know the problem statement that you're solving, right? Do you have personal experiences in the past of knowing about this problem, or having invested a lot of time in solving this, right? So that is the second thing. And then the third thing that they look for is how, whether it's a market, right? What you're solving for, how big is that market, right? Is there a target group which is waiting for your solution? And if it is yes, then they look for how big it can become, right? Whether it is can be only solved in a specific target group, or can be extended to the country, or can be extended to the world, right? So that is the other thing that they look for. And then once you get to these early stage statements, then the next thing that they look for is essentially the product market fit. So once you've solved the problem, right? So while the angels have invested in you and the idea and the market, but then once you reach at a certain scale, then what matters is that whether you're looking at product market fit, whether there is a hockey stick curve building in your business, because once you get a product market fit, then there's no looking back. Then you put in growth, right? So yeah, so it should become a growth machine for VCs to like any business, right? And then once it's a growth machine, then they are convinced. Then you don't have to actually look for funds. The funds reach to you then, right? So yeah, so that is how the curve is of any journey.
Coming to the next question. So, do you think it's beneficial to have corporate experience while establishing a business, or if you think so, how your corporate experience helped you to establish Zip Electric?
So I think to every founder, the journey is different, right? Some start right from college, some start even after dropping out from college, right? Some start as a kid, some take a lot of experience, about 20-30 years, and they even start at a 50 years or 60 years of age, right? In my case, I think there were a few reasons why I had to take that 10 years experience in the corporate world before I start up. One, I didn't have enough capital, right? And earning salary throughout his life. He's a doctor, a very respectable doctor, right? So he earned, and that is the ethos that I have seen, in as a kid, right? So yeah, so for me to launch something without any capital of mine was out of question, right? Right, and hence I wanted to, one, get some capital, second, get a lot of exposure, right? Because when you are a first generation entrepreneur, you need to really build and learn a lot before you start a venture. And hence for me, those ingredients of those 10 years where I learned how MNC works, how a corporate works, how a startup works, how a small team works, how the funds are utilized, how growth happens, right? All these things were very important ingredients for me to learn. And then when I learned all of this, then there was a lot of I would say itch in me that now I have to start, right? And I think, looking in hindsight, it was a perfect journey, right? Looking in hindsight, if I talk about myself, it worked out really well, because I could actually at least solve 50% of the problems myself. And then 50% of the problems, obviously nobody can solve as a founder everything in the business, so you need to build the teams. But at least if you can solve 50 to 60% of the problems in the early stage, then you can then build a few more team members who can solve the balance, right? So yeah, so I think I had that decent exposure and enough confidence and capital after that experience of 10 years to start this off.
So, sir, then continuing with this, what are your further plans, say next 5-year plans, in terms of scaling up the business, or entering into new businesses or new sites, as in now you are into logistics, intercity logistics, where you mostly focus on e-commerce or quick commerce. So is there any plan to expand it into new dimensions of logistics down the line? And what are the challenges you anticipate?
Yeah, so see, I think we are very, very focused that we want to make first logistics in India go electric, sustainable, right? We talk about mission zero emission. That's our tagline, right? That's what is the entire focus of companies, which is sustainable last mile deliveries. As of now, we are focusing on last mile. Obviously, you're right that slowly and steadily we'll focus on mid mile and a little more aspects. But why last mile makes a lot of sense is because 66% of all the commutes in the country are last mile commutes, or the last mile trips, or the last mile delivery trips. So that's the biggest pie, right? So yes, and focus is very important for any startup to do, right? So we continue to focus and hammer a single problem, and that is when you start scaling up faster, and that is why how you start becoming profitable also, right? So that is the focus of Zip, that we'll continue to focus on last mile. Right now we are doing it Delhi and Bangalore. Our idea is to first, over the next 2 years, do this across India, maybe capture all the 40-50 large cities of the country. And then what we also feel is that if this Indian company can actually go global and solve this problem in Southeast Asia, LATAM, EMEA markets also, because the good part is that the EV adoption in all these markets is very, very low, like India. It's a new terrain for everyone globally, right? Except, I would say, China, which is a little more advanced when it comes to electrification of mobility or fleets, right? So yeah, so that is our roadmap. We are here to deploy 150 to 200,000 EVs over the next 3 to 4 years within India, and then definitely do this, across the globe. Because pollution is everywhere, climate change is everywhere.
What do you enjoy being an entrepreneur the most?
See, I think I enjoy the hustle of being an entrepreneur, right? Because every day there's a new challenge. I know it bogs people down sometimes, but I love solving these challenges, right? Yeah, it's almost like you're every day in a movie. Sometimes it's a horror movie, sometimes it's a thriller movie, sometimes it's a comedy. But you every day, of your life is actually a live movie that you are inside, right? And you're solving that. You're playing that game. You're getting stuck. You're failing, but you're learning. And the next time you're becoming better. So yeah. So I think those last 5 years of building this company has been enormous in terms of my own personal growth, my own personal learning into solving the problems of operations, technology, marketing, fleet, right? People, very, very important, finance, right? A lot of things I've learned, right? And that is the joy of building a startup.
So a little off track. So here, all the members, we are in our mid-20s. So how would you describe your life when you were in your 20s?
Well, you have a great smile, by the way. What I would, yeah. So what I would say, see, in my 20s, I think I was very, very clueless, right? As a person, I I I think I could have been much better, provided I had, a little bit more mentoring or a little bit more resources to learn. I think today's generation has enormous resources to gather a lot of knowledge from the, market, from web, from YouTube. So many pieces of nuggets of wisdom available, right? There are podcasts where people can quickly get the pieces of knowledge. All of that was not there when I was there in my 20s, right? And hence I would say that it was a lot different, right? While you would want to do a startup, but everything was like very, very hazy, right? You could not approach founders. You could not learn about these stories, right? Very few stuff available, and hence I was a very clueless founder, a clueless person when I was in my 20s, because only one thing that I know, I knew that I have to work hard, right? That is a non-negotiable. If you want to grow in life, you continue to put in a lot of your hard work in whatever you do. that whatever you do was very directional, because it was like I was doing a job, so whatever comes my way is the only thing that I could do, right? And but yeah, I was a super hardworking person throughout my life, because that's one thing that I feel, that even if you're not smart, even if you don't know things, but if you're hardworking, then you will find your way, right? And then slowly and steadily, if you add a little bit of smartness in your hard work, then I think you can become a rocket.
Yes, sir. And who has been the biggest influence in your life? And what role did your family play in your success?
Oh, see, I think I would say that one of the biggest influences of my life has been my mom, right? And that connects to your question of the family also. I think she's been a huge direction setter for me in my life, right? In terms of like, she very clearly said that I will never be a doctor. My dad was a doctor, so she clearly led that you have to be an engineer. So as a kid, I as you know, that I was clueless. So yeah, I went into engineering. Then she was very clear that you have to be great at acads. So yeah, so I continued to excel in my academics. I you know top three students in my college, topper during engineering, because she was guiding me. And then she was always, sometime or the other, giving me these nuggets of wisdom via these moral stories जो कभी कभी न्यूज़पेपर में छपती हैं. Or she would talk about some entrepreneur, right, that this is how Dhirubhai Ambani has built the business. This is how, so she's been giving me these, insights, which I think in a lot of ways made me what, I am today, right? Obviously, my dad has an influence. He's been an influence from a side that, yes, you have to continue to do hard work, right? And discipline, right? That's what I learned from my dad. But I think a lot of other features of about life, about optimism, about finding direction, about uh, ambition, right? All these things have been ingrained a lot from my mom. So she's been a great influence on me, and continues to be even now, right? Which is great. Now at least she's a little more happy. But the very interesting counter theory here is that while she always gave me all that wisdom, but when I said that I'm now starting up a venture, she said no. She said, no, you cannot leave. You're successful, you're doing so well in your career, how can you leave your job? Obviously, a typical mom, right? When I told her that I'm leaving my job and starting up, oh, she was so yeah. Now I tell her that you made me do this, and now you're and my own call, thankfully. But yes, I think a lot goes to her from that perspective. And then the other knowledge principles I get from a lot of successful founders, right? I try to learn a lot from these podcasts, from these real life stories, from these movies, right? From I one thing that I love to always spend my free time on is to read or watch or listen to successful stories. That gives me a lot of joy, uh, of all kinds. That is like a real time when I become emotional or I become happy, right? So yeah, so that is the other thing which I learn a lot from.
So coming to your daily routine, what is your daily routine, and how is it different from how it used to be in your corporate life before Zip?
So see, I think corporate life was a lot more defined, right? Because you have to reach office at a certain time, and then you can go back home at a certain time, right? That was, so it was a lot more defined, and then someone else is giving you some tasks, so you kind of have to just do that. A founder's life is very, very different. It's a very, very different life, because nobody is defining. You are defining your day, right? And you have to not only define one aspect of the business which you do in your job, you have to actually look at things that nobody else is even thinking, right? So the basics like finance, marketing, HR तो करना ही है, but आपको वो करना है जो दुनिया में कोई और नहीं कर रहा, and nobody will guide you on that, right? So you need to define your own path, And hence, there's no timeline to this path, right? There's only one thing which matters, which is pace. The faster you are, the better you are, right? So there's no time clock that 7 baje ghar jana hai. Nahi. Your mind is always working. Your mind is always trying to learn, trying to solve a problem, trying to think what else is happening. Even when you're traveling, you would try to gauge that और क्या यहाँ से निकाला जा सकता है, क्या सीखा जा सकता है, what is happening in a different country which we can bring to India. So yeah, so I think it's very, very different in terms of your routine. It's a 24 cross 7 work which is happening in your brain when you are, building your own venture, versus you're in a job which is a lot more controlled and defined, and you have your work-life balance and personal life and all of that.
What is the one piece of advice that you'll give to the young aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
So I think one piece of advice that I'd like to give to aspiring entrepreneurs is you should, if you're obviously looking to start up something, go for it, right? Don't wait a lot. Start up, very, very important to take that first step. At the same time, do a lot of research of what you are wanting to do, right? It's very, very important for you to be very clear of the problem statement. Do a lot of, talk to a lot of people, right? To get, your idea validated. A lot of people feel that if we'll share our idea, then we'll, then it's gone. Someone else will start building it. It doesn't happen. I'll tell you that it doesn't happen, because everyone has a different life. Everyone is trying to solve something else. Not every idea is for everyone. So start talking to the people whom you know in different ways of validating your problem statement. Talk to actual customers, that how they are currently solving that problem, and if you will build that solution, whether it will help them or not, right? So those things are very, very important before you start up the venture, right? Which is the pre-work to start the company. And start now is the other thing that I would say.
We'll have a second round of fun round, which is a rapid fire questions. So Ajay will start with that. Yeah, please, Ajay.
Yes, sir. So the first question in the rapid fire round is, who is your favorite sports person, and who is your favorite business leader?
Great. So I think my favorite sports person is Dhoni. When you talk about business person, obviously it is Elon Musk.
And the second question is, what is your favorite holiday destination?
Okay, good one. So see, I like to travel a lot, right? So I would always want to rather venture into a new location, right? Whenever I want to travel. So I would not want to go to the same place again and again, because there's so many things in the world to look at.
Great. What was your favorite book?
So I, during my, I would say 20s or teens, I read this book called The Fountainhead. I really loved that book from Ayn Rand.
And what is the one quote that you like or always stood by?
So interesting one. I think I like be the change, right? I like that quote quite a lot, right? Why don't you be the change to solve the problem that you are seeing in the world? Yeah, from Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, sir. That brings us to the end of this rapid fire round.
Awesome. Thank God.
So this also brings us to the end of the podcast session. We had a very wonderful and interactive session. Thank you, sir, for the time and for the amazing answers. I'm sure the viewers would have many takeaways from this session. We wish you all the very best for the great ventures ahead and the great endeavors coming ahead. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Yeah, I also enjoyed it. And good luck to you guys. Change the world. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We're looking forward for more such opportunities.
Thank you. Good luck. Bye-bye.